G'day and welcome to the next episode of Tech Adept Crafts. Today we are looking at part 2 of the DCC Lankhmar No Small Crimes in Lankhmar. I was doing the build of this of the interior of the house that the adventurers go to. This is now finished being built, and oh my goodness, this was a much bigger job than I had originally planned. Many very late nights this week. Oh boy. Okay. So we've got our roof, we've got our second floor, we've got our first floor, and we've got our ground floor, all done, all trimmed, ready for full play. And our basement, which right at the end I did decide to put some of that on there as well. I think it's really cool. We'll have to do the painting for another video, but that's okay. That will just make each one just a little bit shorter. I would also like to make a shout out to Colonel Corn. I don't know if a lot of you realize, but in the descriptions of my videos each week I do put a little game where I ask a question from the video, and if you answer the question correctly you get a shout out. So Colonel Corn is the only one who noticed that there were 3 dragons and spotted 10 characters and 2 critters. Didn't ask about the critters as well, but yeah, only one who noticed all of those characters and dragons. So well done, Colonel Corn, and I appreciate your observance. I'll see you at the end of the episode, and I hope that you enjoy it. And if you do, make sure that you click like and click subscribe and leave a comment down the bottom as to what you thought of the build. Cheers, see you at the end. First things first, let's get through and finish building all the rest of those rooms. There's very little that is different in that, so I'm speeding through this process. The video has been sped up to 1000%, so don't think that I build that fast, but this was a quick build. One thing that was different was this iron door. I took a very thinly cut piece of foam that I'd cut on my hot wire cutter, and then cut it out to the same shape as the door frames that I had done before, but then used a pencil to draw onto it to give the impression of beaten iron. This chimney is different from the other ones that I've done, as it doesn't have a hearth, it has a door, a small door set in the front. These rooms are all up on the second floor of the building. Now, one of the issues was that there was no extra balustrade or extra staircase, I should say, going up to the next floor, so I had gaps in the walls that I was creating. So I just stuck an extra piece on there just to cover, so that when it lined up they all matched. To cover the join there on that edge, because this is one of the first times that the edge of the cardboard has been sticking out, I just put a piece of balsa wood to represent a building frame. Now to cover a major design flaw. When I first started, my exterior walls and my interior walls were cut to the same length, but then I stuck the interior walls on top of the flooring. This is an extension just to give it that extra lift, and I do have a plan for adding in something underneath the floor to link those floors together so they don't slide about. So this gives me that wiggle room. And these are the tabs underneath to help stop the floors just sliding around when they're sitting on top of each other. For the roof, I wanted a pitch roof, but one with a slight curve to it. So I first of all made a template where I added a curve to the triangle, cut that out, and then spaced it over onto the other side to try and match up what I was cutting. Didn't work completely, but I got it pretty close. To brace the roof so it didn't collapse in upon itself, I added a number of extra beams, sort of one on either side and one in the middle, just to hold that roof stable. And now for something completely different. A cat. The scenario has a cat that attacks the adventurers, and they're tiny size, so this cat needs to be very large compared to them. I have used a combination of a grey dry brush and then white to add to the face and socks. This is very hard for me to do because I am basing this off my little girl Jessica. Jessica was my cat for 22 years, who passed away and in 2018. So I'll always have this little reminder about Jessica. To cover the roof, I start with a simple base of a cereal box card, and then I cut shingles to stick onto that. I used to cut shingles as individual tiles and put them on. Lately I've been doing laser cut shingles and it's etched on. This was really fun to go back to the idea of individual shingles, but rather than just the individual shingles, I've done strips of shingles. Oh my goodness, that was such a good idea because it took so much less time than cutting out every single individual shingle. This was an idea I saw online from somebody and I loved it. I do still cut down to a point for those shingles just so that they do separate, and then I cut a little corner off each edge so that it has a little bit of character. Later ones, what I do is I draw an extra line that I cut to, and I cut either side of that line. So some of them are longer, some of them are shorter, and it gives a lot of variety to those shingles. The first couple of rows were a little bit too stock standard. So I then also started measuring them up and basing where I was cutting from the previous layer. That gave me a lot more random use for those shingles rather than just a very conformed look. For the top strip, I cut out blocks of tiles that would just go overlapping across the top, still with that little corner cut out, but as a single piece. That made it a lot easier to cover the top of the roof. Now to start the major dressing exercise for the building. I am using balsa wood strips all the way around the outside to create that fashwork or the Tudor style look, and this takes ages. I have spent many nights trying to get this all finished, ready for this video, and I tell you what, I am actually looking forward to getting back to some 3D printing of this. I am very happy with the end product though. That is looking really good. To do the edges of the buildings, to give a much more solid foundation for what the building is actually constructed from, I am using 8mm and 10mm wide strips of balsa wood, and these overlap. So the 10mm will overlap and join to the edge of the 8mm. So both sides will end up being 8mm wide because it is 2mm thick balsa wood. I'm also adding a strip there between the joins because that really easily covers up all of that join. This next part is just adding some extra strips to that top piece to give it some variety, and they were fairly random. Did this badly. Should have actually measured it out, because when I came to doing later steps I had not matched them up, and that is one thing that did irritate me later when I saw that. I'm now using cereal box card to line all of those walls that have the corrugated cardboard showing through, and I'm only doing it on the parts where the players will actually see it. I'm not worrying about underneath the layers. What this will do is help to seal that thicker cardboard so that when I go to paint over it I don't have such a large gap. Just tidies up the model. Placing a beam of balsa wood in the corner of each floor to match up with the outside layer. Then I'm using window frames that I have done on for a laser cutter, and these are going in all of the places where the windows are. I have to match them up on both the inside and outside. After a few little attempts at how I'm going to design this fashwork outside, I settle on 2 central beams with corner braces. Rather than carve the balsa wood into some curved beams, I'm using very finely cut high density foam that I cut out on my hot wire cutter. For the base layer, I'm again using very finely cut high density foam and my texture rollers to give a stonework appearance. I'm then laying that in between the beams that I have already put down. This gives me the appearance of a stone ground floor, which I really like. More window and door frames from my laser cut templates, and we are done. Every room is individually able to be taken out and placed in when needed. I'll still work on some terrain to put in there, some of the tables and chairs, but we're ready to go. Done. I am very pleased that I did this. I'm really enjoying getting back to building things rather than printing things. But I'm remembering how long it takes to actually complete them. It is very rewarding, and I'm not going to ever give this hobby away, but yeah, I'll tell you what, the difference between spending 20 hours building this or 20 hours pressing play and walking away, you can see why a lot of people go to 3D printing. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope that you have learnt how to build your own set of architectural designs and do some roof shingles or whatever it is that you're trying to do for your building. I hope that we've helped you along the way, and we'll see you in the next episode of Tech Adept Crafts. Cheers!